Hey, what is up YouTube? Kolst here, back with another tier list video because we have a new meta, there's new rotation, there's new cards from the mini set. We gotta tell you guys which classes you want to pick and which classes you don't want to pick, because there's a much wider range of power level in the classes right now, until at least Blizzard actually balances things a little bit better. So right now, if you care about how much you win, it is pretty important to pick the better classes and definitely don't pick the worst classes. So before we get into that, I just want to announce I have added a member feature to the YouTube. There's a couple different levels. The cheapest one is $1.99. I just get asked a lot like how you can support me, so there's that available now. No pressure to sign up or anything, but it's there if you want it. And also I may start doing some more YouTube streams. If you don't know, I stream on Twitch, but Twitch has just been going through things right now that make it questionable as a platform, and I'll definitely be trying out YouTube. I don't know when I will start doing that. I might do one this weekend, but I don't want to promise anything, but keep eyes out for that as well. Just make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell, so that way hopefully YouTube's live stream notifications are usually pretty bad, but maybe you'll get notified, maybe you won't. But anyway, with that, let's get right into this. So let's start up from the bottom this time. What are the classes you do not want to pick in this meta? And there is one absolutely worst class right now, and it is Warrior. Warrior is really, really bad right now. What really happened to Warrior is they just lost a lot of their really good cards. There were a lot of adjustments Blizzard had made to bring Warrior up, and all the adjusted cards left. The biggest cards they lost were Sortier and Athletic Studies. Those just aren't there anymore. Those used to be really holding up the entire class. There's not a lot going for Warrior right now, at least until the adjustment. Just do not pick Warrior. So the other class that's going to go into this terrible tier is Druid. So Druid is kind of in a similar situation as Warrior, not quite as much due to the adjustments, but Druid also just lost a lot of their best cards. I believe Bees, Arbor Up, Adorable Infestation were some of their biggest losses, and they just didn't get much to replace it. They got like Marsh Hydra, for example, but it's an epic, and just having a Marsh Hydra isn't going to allow a Druid to outvalue many people right now. It's just a tough time to play Druid right now if you do get forced into Druid, although you're never forced to take the bottom two, but Druid might still function semi-well as a tempo class. It's just you have less tools than before. So I know, at least for myself, these are the two classes I'm just not going to play, at least until there's an adjustment by Blizzard, which should come in the next, 2 weeks maybe. With that, let's move on to the classes in the playable tier. There are going to be two here as well. The first one will be Hunter. So Hunter was probably in the decent tier, I believe. I forget exactly where I put it last time. They moved slightly down basically just because they lost some good cards like Carrion Studies, for example. They got some okay cards back like Flanking Strike, but overall, I think it's just not a great meta for Hunter. Other classes are either better at the board, or they have a lot of healing and stuff, or they just do more broken things. So Hunter's okay, but not the greatest right now. Another class in a similar situation here is Rogue. Rogue has been terrible for the last couple months because they had just terrible cards. They've gotten slightly better cards now, so that's why they're now in the playable tier. In particular, Evil Miscreant coming back, and Cursed Vagrant as well being that big finisher they want, and Lackeys of course just giving them ability to do just kind of crazy things sometimes. Has helped out Rogue a lot. Now Rogue would still need a better rotation, I think, to really be good, or some significant adjustments. The best sets for Rogue are Sunken City and Alterac Valley, and neither of those are in. I think we're going to have a resurgence of Rogue when those sets come back. It'll probably be pretty soon at this point, but until then, Rogue's probably going to stay in this position around the bottom half of the tier list. And with that, we move into the decent tier. These are classes that you're decently alright with picking. You shouldn't be super excited. Probably, you should be excited anytime you're able to play Hearthstone, but still classes you probably won't get the same consistency with that you would out of the top classes. The first one I'm going to talk about here is Warlock. So Warlock's been, over the last few months, gradually moving up this tier list. I feel like not much has changed with Warlock fundamentally. The rotations haven't really been a big deal. A lot of their good cards are in the core set. However, they did get one of the best cards in the mini set, which is Arson Accusation. And in general, I think the meta has just shifted in a way that's helped Warlock a lot. There are a lot more bad cards in the game now, and anytime card quality drops, Warlock gets better just because the power level of life tap increases. So you're able to get, even if you have bad cards, you're at least able to get more bad cards to beat your opponent who has less bad cards. So assuming your opponent doesn't do anything super crazy broken, which in this meta also a lot of times they do, because that one big card will kill you. But if they just don't happen to have that, then life tap will drag out a lot of wins for you. So as a result, Warlock doing pretty well. Another class that's doing pretty well is the next class in this tier, we're going to be putting Shaman. So Shaman actually had a very impactful rotation. I believe a lot of their tempo actually left, but what they did get in this rotation was a lot of value, particularly value that's good at keeping the Shaman player alive as well. Walking Fountain coming back is a big source of healing and removal that just allows a control Shaman to actually work. And you can pair that potentially with the new card, the Torghast Custodian, also performing. I think it might actually be the highest performing card in the entire mini set outside of Sylvanas. So really that's two big finishers that Shaman has now that they just didn't have before. That was something they were really lacking. A lot of people would try to play control Shaman and it just wouldn't work because they didn't have the top end. So that allows Shaman to be pretty consistent, I believe, and pretty strong, but probably still not at the power level that some of the other classes are able to reach, which we'll be talking about very soon. But before that, there will be one other class in this tier we have here, which is Priest. So on the first day, I definitely played against some really strong Priests. I actually had 3 losses to Priest at 11 wins in 2 runs, which made those runs not go quite as I had hoped. But the thing is that I think Priest still is kind of a high roll, low roll class. If you don't get the location, you're just going to be very upset, and you just don't get the location all that often. It's about in 1 of 3 decks. And you really need that draw to actually just give yourself enough options to be able to do priesty things. And there are a lot of priesty things you can do right now, but again, you just won't have the consistency unless you happen to high roll the location. And with that is it for the decent tier. Let's move on to the great tier. These are classes where you will have at least a bit of an advantage over the general population picking these classes. The first one we will talk about here is Demon Hunter. So Demon Hunter, as of last meta as well, was a very strong tempo class, and that has not changed. However, what Demon Hunter has gained as well is some really good late game. They got Coilfang, Warlord, Priestess of Fury, and as well Imprisoned Antane is back to 5 mana, by the way. They unnerfed it when it went back to Wild, so now pre-nerf Imprisoned Antane is back. And of course, in the mini set, one of the strongest cards again was that 4-drop that allows you to potentially draw 5 cards if your hand is empty. So Demon Hunter just has a lot of really good tools, and it's going to allow them to be pretty dominant over a lot of the other classes. However, there are a couple classes that definitely have the ability to compete even with a bunch of draw in value, and as well just create some crazy swing plays. And with that, let's talk about the other class in this tier, that is Mage. So Mage is still doing, kind of typical Mage things. They lost some very good cards, but they also gained a lot of really good cards. Like, for example, Meteor is back, Conjurer's Calling is back, Power Creation is back as well, and they got Life Sentence, the new card from the mini set, which is basically a better polymorph. So Mage fitting in basically in that level where they can do a lot of, they can be played as a tempo deck, but also there's a lot of really powerful things they can do. They can generate a lot of value, just typical Mage things. With that, you might be asking which class is left for the amazing tier. And if you're looking right here, it's not much of a question because there's one class on the screen, and that is Paladin. So when you get down to it, Paladin's up here really just because, the meta has not been adjusted yet, and Paladin just has better cards than everyone else. It's really that simple. Not even necessarily that their cards are better, although like Buffet Big Gun, for example, is pretty much better than anything any other class has access to. But as well, they're just incredibly deep. Like, I'm looking at the HS replay stats right now. I mean, there's just so many things. Like, you have to scroll so far down to even find things like Tyrion or Vine Cleaver's way down here. Steed is way down here. Like, their depth is just absolutely insane. You're gonna, compared to the other classes, you're just gonna be packed with powerful cards as Paladin. So that's why Paladin is up here in the amazing tier until at least an adjustment comes from Blizzard to bring other classes up to a level and probably bring them down to other classes level. But with that is it for this tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys are enjoying Arena if you are playing as well. Hope your hero class selection goes well because there is quite a big gradients. I believe on HS replay right now, Warriors 38%, Paladins at 55. So that's a very huge spread. So hopefully you get offered some of the good classes if you do play. That will make your experience probably better. But again, if you like the video, like it, you can subscribe and hit the bell to get notified for more videos. I'll hopefully get a new run up sometime tomorrow, not sure exactly, maybe in the afternoon. And you can check out the member section if you feel so inclined. But anyway, with that, that's it. Thanks a lot for hanging out. We'll see you guys in the next one.